Good evening and welcome to the May 11th, 2021 Northern Lebanon School Board meeting. I now call this meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded. We apologize for the delay this evening. We were having technical difficulties and we're glad that you are joining us via Zoom. Thank you for joining us virtually. Please know that all webinar community member participants will remain on mute during the meeting unless they have put in a request to speak during the public comment period. Those wishing to make public comment were asked to submit that request by 4 o'clock this evening via email or online form. We now have the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence, and this will be led by Director Nam.
Yes, please stand for the flag salute, moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Mrs. Martin, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Gray,
Here.
Erdman, Fowler,
Here.
Marlowe,
Here.
Murray,
Here.
Klein,
Here.
Sekelic, Nam,
Here.
Bucks,
Here.
Director Erdman absent, all other members present.
Thank you. I'd like to announce that immediately preceding this meeting, we had a board training session today. Moving on to item 2 on the agenda, that is adoption of the agenda. Before we move forward with that item, I would like to add some details to item 8.5, and that is 8.5B. We would like to add that we will also be authorizing signers for the letter of credit to First Citizens Community Bank.
Yes.
Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, the letter of credit.
So why don't you just list the signers?
And those signers will be our business manager, Mrs. Leanne Martin, the board president and the board treasurer. And is that the complete list, I believe? Okay. May I have a motion to amend that item 8.5B as presented?
Motion to amend?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Are we also voting to adopt them?
We will be
Okay.
voting on that. Right now, we're just voting to amend the agenda, and then we will vote to accept the amended agenda.
Great, thank you.
Is there any further discussion on that amendment? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed for that amendment to item 8.5B. Now we will vote now I would like a motion to accept the amended agenda as presented.
Motion to adopt the amended agenda.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. Moving on to item 3, that is presentations. The high school students of the month for May are Brett Wilson and Estrella Lopez. This award is sponsored jointly by the Fredericksburg and Jonestown Lions Club, and each recipient will be recognized at a future meeting of the Lions Club. The middle school student of the month for May is Isabella Hollinger, and for June, Lindsay Mauser. Am I saying that correct?
Mhm.
Yes, thank you. This award is sponsored by the Northern Lebanon County Rotary Club, and each recipient will be recognized at a future meeting of the Rotary Club. Congratulations to all of those students. Do we have our student board representative, Eileen Zemba, with us? All right, we'd like to hear from Eileen this evening.
Okay, so hi. So to start off, Student Council is making a brochure to share with students to let them know that about like what Student Council is and like what we will offer. Next, we really want a homecoming dance for next year since we haven't been able to have one due to COVID. We are starting plans for next year, which includes homecoming if we're allowed to have it and like other events. And next and lastly, student council is holding our elections for president for next year.
All the
So-
offices.
For all the offices, I guess. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Eileen. I think that we all anticipate moving forward to a little bit more normalcy and returning to our normal-ish events next year. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have folks from the Northern Lebanon Viking Foundation, Jim Hoffer, Josh Wagner, and Megan Allman. Welcome.
And hold it. Good. Hi. Thank you so much for giving us the time to come in and tell you a little bit about who we are this evening. The Northern Lebanon Viking Foundation in some form or other has been around since 1997. We started, actually, we didn't start, we're rather newer members, but the foundation started at a time where districts were starting to recognize a need for, I want to say supplemental funding, but additional funding to help some of the things that tended to be dropped at school districts due to money. So since then, the foundation has worked very hard to generate money for scholarships for students. We've generated money for teacher grants and funding of things in the classroom that teachers have petitioned us for. And then some other items that are part of EITC monies and contributions that have the district and ourselves have identified on some state forms and applications that we're required to do. These good folks are here to talk about some of the specifics of those things. Oh, I got ahead of my slide. So here are the things that we do. So post-secondary student scholarship programs. This is the seniors who are graduating. They fill out an application for us and they submit it. And based on mostly community service and a few other things, we select students that we feel are just great representation of Northern Lebanon School District, who will go on to do great things and bring things back to our community. And we attempt to help them with the costs of college for that. We back up one quick. Sorry about that. The teacher grants, again, those are things such as, well, there's a picture of one right there. On the right-hand side of that photo, there's some very happy-looking students out of the metal shop who used our district plasma chem. That hangs now, the item on the left hangs down at the gymnasium to show Viking pride at our entranceway. And the unfinished one on the right-hand side is hanging on the side of Jonestown Elementary School. And it became a gnomon for the sundial that's hanging there. That was done in part with the elementary arts students. So that whole project there was funded by our foundation and a grant that we provided them. And then we also, like I mentioned, we give some money to the Virtual Academy. That's one of our identified contributors. College in the Classroom, whereas students who take those classes, we help them with books and things that they really shouldn't necessarily have to buy, that we help them with, but maybe is something that we don't feel that we would like to see the school district have to pay for either. We're kind of like that middle ground there with them. And the Technology Student Association, that is to technology education, kind of like FFA is to the agricultural students, to put it in a relationship there. So that's currently the things that we fund at the district that we work very hard to generate some money for. You know, beautification, I believe that's Jonestown Elementary School that we did a few years ago. Again, a little above and beyond the normal. Kids got into the biotech side of things and they learned about the growing. The teacher took it upon herself then to to get the landscaping and get the kids out working with some people from the community and the facility staff. And it was a beautification project. So very wide range of projects, everything from metalworking, fabrication, the arts to biotech.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the golf tournament, which is our main source of revenue for the student scholarships. But I love this slide, and thank you, Jim, for putting it together, because it reminds us of why we're on the foundation. When I was asked to be on this foundation 3 years ago, I was like, I got to start saying no to some stuff. Like, I can't be on everything I'm always asked to do. And I'm going to tell you this, every May, usually late April or early May, when we have our meeting where we choose the scholarships, is one of my favorite days of the year. Being able to award kids that have worked hard with these scholarships. And you can see the statistics there. I'm not going to read the slide, but in the 23 years of this foundation, over $200,000 has been given to students. Part of the reason why we're here tonight is that there are some board members who maybe aren't familiar with the foundation. I know some of you are, but we wanted to make sure you're aware of it and ask, kind of solicit your help in the community with our golf tournament. It would be great to have a board golf team. I know there's probably varying skill levels here, and we promise we won't laugh at you if your level is not great, but having support from admin and board level and community and teachers. We're going to have a teacher team this year. The association has sponsored a team. So we'd love to have every aspect of the community be part of the golf tournament. So this slide is great. Thank you, Jim, to see some of the pictures of the kids over the last 3 or 4 years that have been awarded the scholarships. And we just awarded 6 students at our last meeting. 6 students this year were awarded scholarships for this year. So Megan's going to talk a little bit about other functions of the foundation.
Yeah, so like Josh said, we're really proud of our student scholarships. It's a really big part of the funding that we do, but we also do teacher and learning grants. And so these are, Jim mentioned a number of the projects that they've funded. We're always looking to fund things that wouldn't necessarily be covered by the district's budget, things that allow teachers to, bring in extra things, give students more of what they're looking for. Since 2011, you can see here we've awarded almost 15 grand in funding to teacher grants. That is just money that has come from our regular fund. So in addition to that funding, we also work with the state on, as Jim mentioned, EITC, which is the Educational Improvement Tax Credit. So confusing because there's also other EITCs. So it's the Educational Improvement Tax Credit. So what that means is that businesses are able to donate to us and they get anywhere between 75 to 90% match in tax credit. There is, as far as I know, a pretty high cap on what businesses can give us, and we can funnel that money back into a lot of different places in the district. So this is something that we have not been utilizing as much as we've liked to in the past, and it's something we're working on going forward. So if you happen to know businesses who want to donate to the school, they can do that through the EITC grant. And that allows us to do even more funding. So some of our college in the classroom, we just did, I believe, a $3,000-ish donation for V3 to buy digital cameras for a digital photography class that had been planned. So we can go to the next slide too and look at some of those other fundings. So yeah, so these are some of the things that have been funded, both from the golf tournament and EITC. And like I said, we are really looking to grow EITC donations. So if you know anyone who wants to donate, work with any businesses, they can talk to Kayla in the business office. They can approach us in the foundation. We're really looking to bring as much money into the district because everything that we do here, you can see, goes back to the kids, it goes back to learning, goes back to these projects to help make the district better.
So just to wrap up the short presentation, our golf tournament this year is on June 18th. It's a Friday of Father's Day weekend. If you don't have plans and you play golf or you know someone who plays golf, please reach out. Like Megan mentioned, the business aspect of it, we're still looking for a corporate and gold level sponsors for the golf tournament. Mrs. Martin has already given you one of the brochures for the tournament, but I have some with me. I'll leave them with Mr. Reese. You can pick them up at the end of the meeting if you're interested and you want to just hand some out in your community. Or if you know business owners, we are definitely looking for some more teams. We're at about half capacity right now. And Mrs. Martin assures me that usually it's around this time when we start getting more teams rolling in, but we're at about half capacity as far as teams right now. So if you're willing to, reach out to business owners in the community that and it's going to solicit them to get a team together or to be corporate sponsorship. We have different sponsorship levels, T signs and things like that. You don't have to play necessarily if you want to get your business out there. And then our contact information is on the last slide. The website links through the school's website, and then we now have just launched recently. Megan put together a really nice Facebook page to represent the foundation to try to get that out into the community. So that's kind of our pitch. The one last thing I'll mention is we just recently reviewed our bylaws, which were the original bylaws from 1997. The PDF was like, it looked like it was a Commodore 64 computer typed these bylaws up from 1997. So we just revised them, and we're going through some legal processes to get our name officially changed to Viking Foundation from Education Foundation, all that kind of stuff. But in those bylaws, one of the things that the original bylaws said was that there should be a kind of a guest member of the foundation from the school board. And Dr. Messinger sits in that position representing the school district as admin. And so if any of you have an interest in potentially sitting on our meetings, we meet 8-ish, 9-ish, third Thursdays of the month, 8-ish or 9-ish, depending on how often we need to have meetings, from 7 to 8 in the morning, the third Thursday of the month. We don't usually meet in the summertime, but we're looking at having an annual meeting in the summer this year. But it's mostly during the school year, the third Thursday from 7 to 8 a.m. If any of you have an interest in being a part of it, Dr. Messinger can tell you kind of what his role is. You'd have about the same role. It's a great organization. Some of the charter members, some of Ron Brewer, Frank Coker, are still around and part of the foundation. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to Dr. Messinger, or you can email any of us, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Anybody have any questions now? Of course.
Hey,
The only
thanks, guys.
Can I just ask a quick question? And you can get back to me by email, but do you have some kind of information that we could hand out to a business? I mean, I'd be happy to go to businesses and talk to them about that tax credit, or would it be better to get them to just direct them to you? What would you prefer?
Let me answer that.
Sure.
So as of right now with the EITC, we don't have information. So if you could send them to us, but that is something we're looking to put together. So you guys are welcome to reach out to me. Probably the easiest is through our Facebook page.
Okay.
And then we can talk about, or through Dr. Messinger, and we can get in touch. But so I'm hoping to get more information put together about the EITC, but right now just send them to us.
Okay, thank you.
Not that we're restructuring at the moment, but we're refocusing a few things, and we're gonna be ready for taking that on here, I would say, probably by the end of the summer.
Okay,
We really would appreciate if somebody has the time to join us. It's very much worthwhile. It is not a whole lot of time. And we would really value the insight from the school board as to where you see help you for us together.
And you said those meeting times are 7 to 8 a.m. the third Thursday of the month.
Generally.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
I'm going to say 8:15.
Well, some of us have to teach at 8:12, so sometimes we
Okay,
have to
okay.
wrap it up at 10 after.
No, and these guys do a great job. It really is well run, and I enjoy the meetings because they're talking about how they can help our staff, how they can help our kids, and it's been great to be a part of it. So I highly recommend it if you're interested.
And it doesn't have to be limited to one of you. If more than one of you want to be a part in that kind of advisory role, that would be great too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation and the invitation and all of the worthwhile work that you're doing. Moving on to item 4, we have our superintendent's report.
And just a couple of things, the first thing, and I do have wood here, I checked before I'm going to say this, but, one of the things that we talked about in terms of bringing kids back, I was concerned about adding population and the number of cases. And I got to tell you, just to report out that I was wrong. As a matter of fact, I don't think we've had a case in 2 weeks. So I'm going to knock on wood. Sorry to say that out loud, but it has been, I think it's been good for our kiddos. Certainly with testing, it makes it easier because a lot of them are here. But Things have gone well, and I really want to give a thank you to administration for making sure that we could do it and do it safely. They did a lot of hard work to make sure that happens, and also to our teachers. They, you know, a lot of them were chomping at the bit to get more kids in their classes, and I think they did a great job of adjusting on the fly, you know, once again to the additions. So shout out to them. We are heading down the stretch of a challenging year, but a year where we've learned some things, and certainly learned some things about virtual instruction that we're excited to look at in the future. But currently trying to finalize graduation plans at the moment. It's going to look a lot like normal, and that's a good thing. Although the standing in the rain as the cars drove through was fun. We're hoping to look a lot like normal with a rain plan also of being inside in the auditorium, as the numbers will be lifted by the time we get to June 10th. You know, most of our efforts are trying to do that. Other than that, things are winding down with finals and coming up. And as we wrap up our PSSA testing and Keystone testing for the spring, we're on track to get that done as well. So busy, but almost a little bit of a normal feel right now, which is nice. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you. That sounds like lots of good news. Moving on to item 5, that is old business. Is there any old business for discussion this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 6. That is our public comment session. Those wishing to make public comment were asked to submit that request by 4 o'clock this evening via email or online form. And tonight I've been informed that we have had no requests for public comment. It should be noted that public notice was given for this meeting in accordance with Act 84 of 1986. And then we move on to item 8. That is the items on our consent agenda. All of these items were presented at last week's board meeting. This includes items 8.1 through 8.8. May I have a motion to approve items 8.1 through 8.8 on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. Then we move on to items that are on our discussion agenda. We have several this evening. Item 9.1, that is our summer work crew. Dr. Messinger, would you like to discuss this?
Yeah, we just approval of Isaac England as a student summer work crew member, and we had some signed up for last year that we didn't get to use, but starting to get some names for this summer. Although he's the only one so far. So right now, Isaac's going to be on his own, but he's responsible for cleaning the entire district. But we did get his application, so approval of that.
Are there any questions on that item? May I have a motion to approve item 9.1?
Motion to approve item 9.1, summer work crew.
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. Now we move on to item 9.2, that is the Lebanon County CTC officers. Dr. Messinger?
Yeah, it's just the approving the election of the officers listed to the Lebanon County CTC Center for the 2021-2022 school year.
Are there any questions on that item? I'd like to recognize that our own Dave Klein will be serving as treasurer for the CTC, pending approval from all of the districts, of course.
That's right. Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve item 9.2, Lebanon County CTC officers?
Motion to approve.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. Now we move on to item 9.3, that is appointing a board treasurer. We did have a nomination of Mr. Mike Marlowe to serve as board treasurer, and Director Marlowe did accept that nomination. Before voting, we'd like to open it up if there are any other nominations tonight. Hearing none, then may I have a motion to appoint Director Marlowe as our board treasurer effective July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022.
Motion to appoint Director Marlowe as board treasurer.
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. Moving on to item 9.4, that is electing a board secretary. And we had a nomination for Mrs. Pat Martin to remain as our board secretary. Do we have any other nominations this evening? Hearing none, may I have a motion to elect Pat Martin as our board secretary?
Motion to elect Pat Martin as board secretary.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. And I would like to just recognize the hard work that Mrs. Martin does throughout the year, sending many emails, reminding us, kind of slow responding board members to dot our I's and cross our T's when needed. So we thank you for helping us do our jobs effectively. Moving on to item 9.5, that is our bid advertisement. Dr. Messinger.
Yeah, it is time for us to advertise for our bids for the construction of additions and alterations for the new elementary school. And you're authorizing that to be placed in the paper. We attached a stock and leader approved advertisement for you. Fidavia is taking a fine look at that too, just to make sure that we have everything dotted and crossed. But the stock and leader approved advertisement is there. But you're approving the action of actually doing the advertisement, and then we'll come back and let you know what we got.
Are there any questions regarding the bid advertisement? May I have a motion to approve the bid advertisement for construction, item 9.5?
Motion to approve bid advertisement.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. Now we move on to item 10, that is our reports from our representatives. First up is our representative for the Career and Technology Center, Director Klein.
Yes, I have a couple things for you guys tonight. The certificate and award ceremony is going to be held Wednesday, June 9th at the Lebanon Valley Expo Center. Each student is going to get 2 tickets. And then I passed out a newsletter where you can see the 125 students, pictures of the 125 students that were inducted into the National Technical Honor Society. You'll see some familiar faces. There's quite a few Northern Lebanon students in that bulletin. And lastly, I talked about the paving project last month. They were expecting that bid to come in around $330,000. It came in a lot less at $233,000. So it's about a $100,000 difference in our favor. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on that bid project or that paving project. And that's all I have for you guys this month.
Great news. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up is our IU representative, Director Murray.
Yeah, exciting things happening over at the IU. There's some grant funding that has come through, and they're pretty excited about that over there. And they've worked really hard to continue some projects that are kind of ongoing. So the other thing that I would just highlight with the IU, if you haven't completed the election of the board members, that's in your packet. So you want to make sure, if you have any questions about those folks, I've known them for as long as I've been on the board. It's a pretty consistent group of board members that are on that board over there. So I count them all as friends and fellow board members, and really have respect for each and every one of them. So I would feel confident recommending the folks that are on there if you haven't completed that yet. And yeah, just some really hard workers over there. So I'm always thankful for it's a long drive that I haven't had to make, but this month we're going to be meeting in person. So I'm excited about that as well. So they've made accommodations to accommodate all 22 of us. So yeah, exciting. Thank you.
Great news. Thank you. Next is an update from our legislative PSBA liaison, Director Sekelic.
Nothing to report.
I wanted to add for some of our legislative updates, we do get those emails regularly from PSBA, and just a couple things that stuck out to me of note for this week is, and most of these surround budget, that is news coming out regarding the proposed state budget. This includes a $1.3 billion increase in funding to education over last year's budget. As it is written currently, and of course this is highly subject to change, in that proposed budget for education, there is charter school law reform. As it is written now, it will save $229 million a year. So that is part of this budget. Along with that, there is $200 million increase in funding that is directed at special education. A couple other things regarding that proposed education budget is that, as it is currently written, all of the funding for schools will run through the fair funding formula. As it is currently structured, only about 11% of the state funding goes through that fair funding formula. It is true that some school districts, if all of the funding goes through the fair funding formula, some school districts will, as it is written, lose funding because the fair funding formula is geared to give more money towards those districts that have more poverty. But as part of the budget as it is written, there will be additional funding put in so that even though any increase in funding goes through that fair funding formula, no school will lose current funding. So you won't go down in the amount of funding that you would get from the fair funding formula, but there will be some very deserving school districts that desperately need that money that will see more money as a result of that fair funding formula. So that's one thing regarding the proposed state budget. There were two bills that are proposed that I wanted to highlight. One is, we talked last month about mandate waivers, and Senate Bill 73 is a proposed bill for mandate waivers that did pass the Education Committee actually yesterday. If this goes forward, that would allow schools to apply for waivers to certain state mandates, certainly not all state mandates. And actually, there's quite a large list of state mandates that cannot be waived, including things like safety and security and special ed and attendance. So many that I wasn't quite sure what we really could waive, but to my understanding, this is important that it does move forward. So it did move out of the Senate Education Committee. And then one last thing is House Bill 602 is a career and technology education investment incentive program. This bill would provide tax incentives for businesses that contribute to career and technology organizations. And so this has been amended and referred to the Appropriations Committee. So just a couple of things that are in the works that should hopefully provide good things for education moving forward. Does anybody else have anything to add to any legislation updates? All right, item 11, new business. Is there any new business for discussion this evening? Listed on the agenda are several dates to remember. And importantly, we have our last student day and graduation on Thursday, June 10th. So we all look forward to that. And then we move on, hearing no other items of concern for this evening. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. This meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.